He strapped dying people to a scale, not to help them, not to save them, but to prove that something leaves the body the moment we die. In 1907, a doctor made one of the most disturbing claims in medical history, that the human soul has weight, and he said he could prove it, down to the gram. Sounds insane, right? Well, here's the crazier part. He wasn't some fringe mystic. He was a practicing physician, and the experiment he ran was real. His name was Dr. Duncan MacDougall, and he believed that if the soul was real, like real, then it had to take up physical space. It had to be something you could measure, something you could weigh. So he did what no one else dared to do. He found 6 patients who were moments away from death and placed them on a massive custom-built scale. Then he waited, and when each person took their final breath, the scale dropped, suddenly, by exactly 21 grams. Not 20, not 22, 21. That's how much he said the human soul weighs. Now let that sink in. This isn't a movie plot. This isn't fiction. This is a real-life experiment that made headlines over 100 years ago, and people are still talking about it today. It's been called brilliant. It's been called reckless. Some say he proved the soul is real. Others say he just misread the scale. But whatever side you're on, you can't deny one thing. This experiment was one of the weirdest, most controversial, and most morbid scientific studies ever attempted. And it's only the beginning. Because the story doesn't end with 21 grams. No, it gets much weirder than that. MacDougall later tried it again, but with dogs. He claimed animals showed no weight loss at death, implying only humans had souls. People lost their minds. Churches got involved. Scientists laughed him off. But the public? They couldn't stop talking about it. Even now, the number 21 grams shows up in books, tattoos, and movies. But most people have no idea where it really came from, until now. Because in this video, we're going deep into the twisted true story of the man who claimed he measured the soul, and what his scale revealed the moment a person died. What he found. It might not just change how you think about death, it might change how you think about everything. Let's get into it. Dr. Duncan MacDougall wasn't your typical doctor. He wasn't just interested in medicine or curing illness. He wanted to answer a question that science had never been able to prove. Does the human soul actually exist? And if it does, can we measure it? In the early 1900s, MacDougall worked as a respected physician in Massachusetts. He had seen hundreds of people die. He'd watched life slowly leave their bodies. And like many people, he started to wonder what exactly leaves a person when they die. He believed the soul was a real physical thing, not just a spiritual idea. And if something is real, he thought, then it must have weight. Even if it's small, even if it only weighs a few grams. So he came up with a plan. A strange plan. A shocking plan. MacDougall built a large metal scale, not to weigh food or animals, but to weigh dying humans. That's right. He actually found terminal patients, people who were close to death, and asked if they would let him place their hospital beds directly on top of this giant scale. The scale was incredibly sensitive. It could detect even tiny weight changes, down to a single gram. He wanted to record a person's exact weight just before death, and then again, immediately after they died. If the numbers were different, maybe that meant the soul had weight. And maybe, just maybe, he could catch it leaving the body. Most scientists would have called this idea crazy. But MacDougall was determined. He believed that science had to take risks to find the truth, even if it made people uncomfortable. So he got permission. He found 6 patients who were dying from diseases that left them very still in their final hours. He didn't want movement to affect the numbers. And then, he waited. He sat by their beds. He took careful notes. He watched the scale. And when each person finally passed away, he claimed something incredible happened. According to MacDougall, the scale dropped suddenly, by exactly 21 grams. It wasn't a slow shift, it was fast, like something vanished in an instant. He believed that weight wasn't from air, it wasn't water, it wasn't gas leaving the body, it was something else. The soul. That's what he believed he had measured. And just like that, a number was born, 21 grams, the supposed weight of the human soul. But not everyone believed him. In the next part of this story, we'll break down what happened after the experiment. and how the world reacted to his shocking claim. When Dr. MacDougall told the world that the soul weighed 21 grams, people didn't know what to think. Some were amazed, some were terrified, and others, they were angry. At first, newspapers went wild with the story. Headlines called it proof of the soul. Reporters wrote that science had finally caught something leaving the body at death. People who believed in the afterlife said, "See, we knew it." But scientists, they weren't impressed. In fact, many of them thought the whole thing was a joke, a dangerous one. They pointed out a huge problem. MacDougall had only tested 6 people. That's a very small number for a serious experiment. And the results, not all of them were clear. Only a few showed that exact drop of 21 grams. The others had nothing. Some patients died with no weight change at all. Others lost weight before they even took their last breath. So was the soul early, late, selective? The more people asked questions, the more the experiment started to fall apart. Then things got even weirder. MacDougall decided to try the same experiment, but with dogs. He believed that if humans had souls, maybe animals didn't. He wanted to prove it, so he placed dogs on the scale and waited for them to die. What happened next? Nothing. No weight change. No soul, no 21 grams. MacDougall took that as proof. To him, this meant dogs had no soul, only humans did. But now everyone was upset. Animal lovers were horrified. Religious groups were furious. Scientists laughed it off as bad research, and reporters didn't know what to believe anymore. Still, the story refused to die. Despite all the criticism, people couldn't stop talking about it. The idea that your soul might leave your body at the moment of death, and that someone actually measured it, was just too interesting to ignore. The number 21 grams started showing up in books, magazines, even movies. In 2003, there was a Hollywood film named 21 Grams. Some people got tattoos of the number. Others made songs about it. It became a piece of modern folklore. Even if MacDougall's science was sloppy, the story stuck. Because deep down, people wanted to believe it was true, that death isn't the end, that something, anything, lives on. But was it real? That question still hasn't been answered. Scientists today still say MacDougall's methods were flawed. The results weren't reliable. The scale could have been reacting to sweat, air, or body heat. But here's the strange thing. No one ever tried the experiment again. Not seriously. Not with better tools. Not in a modern lab. Why? Maybe they're scared of what they might find. In the next scene, we'll ask a bigger question. Could the soul actually exist? And could science ever prove it? Stick around. It only gets weirder from here. So let's ask the big question. Could the soul actually be real? For thousands of years, people have believed in it. Religions say it's the part of you that lives on after death. Philosophers say it's what makes you you. But science doesn't like things it can't see, touch, or measure. That's the problem. The soul isn't something you can put under a microscope. It doesn't show up in X-rays. You can't take a blood test for it. So how could anyone prove it's even there? That's what made MacDougall's experiment so fascinating. He tried to measure the unmeasurable. And even though most scientists didn't believe him, the idea never really went away. In fact, it sparked even more curiosity. Some researchers have looked into what happens to the brain during death. In the final moments, the brain releases strange waves, like it's doing one last burst of activity. Is that just the brain shutting down? Or could it be something leaving? Other scientists have studied people who were declared clinically dead then came back. They described floating above their bodies, seeing lights, hearing voices. These are called near-death experiences, or NDEs. Some say it's just chemicals in the brain. Others swear it's real, proof that something lives on. Then there's the mystery of consciousness. Where does it come from? Why can we think, dream, and feel? No one really knows. And some scientists believe consciousness might not come from the brain at all. If that's true, maybe the soul is just another word for something science hasn't figured out yet. But here's where it gets even stranger. Despite all our technology, Brain scans, heart monitors, machines that can map every cell in the body. We still don't fully understand what happens when we die. Not completely. And that's kind of terrifying. Some people believe the soul is energy, and energy can't be destroyed, only changed. So if your body stops working, where does that energy go? Others say the soul might exist in a different dimension, one we can't see. That would explain why we can't measure it. Yet, MacDougall's 21 grams theory may have been flawed, but it forced people to think differently. It mixed science with spirituality. It made people uncomfortable. And that's often how big ideas begin. So, is the soul real? Nobody knows for sure. But here's what we do know. We're born. We live. We die. And in that final moment, something does change. Maybe it's just the last breath. Maybe it's a mystery science hasn't solved. Or maybe, just maybe, MacDougall was right. In the next scene, we'll dive into the strange legacy of 21 grams and why people still believe it today. Stick around. The weird part is just getting started. Even if you've never heard of Dr. MacDougall, you've probably heard of the number 21 grams. It's been in movies. It's been written in books. It's even tattooed on people's bodies. Why? Because once people heard that the human soul might weigh 21 grams, they never forgot it. That number stuck in our heads. But why 21? Why not 10, or 50, or 100? Here's something weird. 21 is 7 plus 7 plus 7. 3 sevens. In many cultures, the number 7 is considered lucky, spiritual, or mystical. So when you add it together 3 times, some people think that's not just math, it's meaning. And maybe that's why it feels so important. After MacDougall's experiment, the number 21 took on a life of its own. It became more than just a measurement. It became a symbol. In 2003, a movie called 21 Grams was released. The whole story was built around the idea that something leaves the body when we die. The characters were haunted by death and by what might be left behind. Even though the movie never claimed MacDougall was right, it made millions of people ask the question, what if the soul is real and it weighs 21 grams? Since then, the number has shown up everywhere. People have gotten tattoos of 21 grams as a tribute to lost loved ones. Writers use it to describe death in a poetic way, and internet forums still debate it like it just happened last week. But here's the craziest part. There is no scientific proof that the soul weighs anything. MacDougall's test wasn't repeated. His methods were shaky, and his results inconsistent. Still, people want to believe it, because it feels just real enough to be possible, and just weird enough to make us wonder. Some say that 21 grams could be the last breath or water leaving the body. Others believe it's the moment our spirit disconnects, the exact instant when we become something else. Even in science fiction and paranormal shows, the number 21 pops up again and again. Maybe it's a coincidence, or maybe it's something deeper we haven't figured out yet. But one thing is clear. MacDougall's experiment didn't just weigh the body, it weighed on our minds. Over a century later, people are still asking the same question. What happens when we die? And could the answer be hiding in just 21 grams? In our final scene, we'll explore why this story has lasted so long, and why the truth might still be out there. Get ready, it's about to get even stranger. More than 100 years have passed since Dr. MacDougall weighed his first patient. But the mystery he left behind, it's still very much alive. Even today, no one has officially proven or disproven his theory. There's no final answer, no clear yes or no. Just one strange number, 21 grams. That's what makes this story so powerful. It's not just about science, it's about everything we don't understand. What happens when we die? Where do we go, if anywhere? Do we simply stop? Or does something continue on? Science is great at measuring things we can see, touch, and test, but it struggles with things like love, fear, or the soul. That's where mystery lives, and that's exactly where MacDougall aimed his scale. His experiment was flawed, yes. The sample size was too small. His tools were outdated. And many scientists dismissed his work right away. But the question he asked, it was huge. And nobody else has tried to answer it the same way since. Maybe no one wants to. Maybe it's too strange, too uncomfortable, too risky. Because if you prove the soul is real, everything changes. The way we see life, the way we treat death, the way we understand who, or what, we really are. So maybe that's why the 21 grams theory hasn't been forgotten. It touches something deep inside us, something we don't always talk about, but we all think about. We want to know we matter, that we're more than just skin and bones, that something within us has purpose. And maybe, just maybe, it lasts forever. That's what keeps people coming back to this story. It's why the legend of 21 grams keeps spreading through books, movies, and late-night conversations. Not because the science was perfect, but because the idea refuses to die. And maybe in a weird way, that's the point. Maybe the most important stories are the ones that leave us wondering. So what do you believe? Was MacDougall onto something? Or was it all just bad science and wild guesses? One thing's for sure, the moment we die is still one of the biggest mysteries we face. And the idea that something invisible might quietly slip away, weighing only 21 grams, is just too strange to ignore.